right. Hello and good evening. I'm back. Um, let's see here. We actually got quite a few things in here, and actually, I already got a super chat. Which why is my mouse not working on the super chat? That's okay. Did we freeze up here? Because it's acting like I have no control over this. Can y'all hear me? I think the chat just froze on me. Oh crap. Okay, the chat is frozen on us for some reason. Ain't that just grand? There we go. No, it worked for a second. Crap. What is going on here, people? I apologize for this. We are having a chat room bug, it would appear. So I am going to attempt to pull up the chat on my phone. Let's see. So I did see a question from Anthony who asked whether or not you could take the negativity I give off when I am sad or depressed or mad and transmute that into a positive energy and send that energy back to me. There are ways to do that, yes. I'm not sure I would want to do that. Well, I know I wouldn't want to do it with the spell that I shared earlier in the week, because that spell actually has some negatives to it for the individual that is giving you problems. And you would essentially create a really bad feedback loop on yourself if you did that, which is the opposite of what you're wanting to do. Also, you got to be careful because just because you're sad or mad doesn't make that a negative emotion. Emotions really aren't that simple. You can't just label them positive and or negative. It really isn't that simple. Being mad is normal. It's a natural thing. It's not positive or negative. It actually depends on the entire situation. And I do mean the situation, not even our feelings, because being sad does kind of suck. But at the same time, just because it sucks doesn't make it actually bad. So you got to be careful with that. So I actually would not use the spell that I gave on here. I'm trying to hopefully find this real quick. Recently, I would not do that. That's not going to let me do that. Let's see. See about this. See if I can search it in the main app. Maybe that'll work. Says this is us. That's us right there. So we're going to click that now. And hopefully I can find a freaking mute button quickly because I don't need to hear myself. Now, do I? Wait, maybe I can just turn my phone down all the way. That might work. Skip survey. What the heck? I don't need a survey, people. No way. Oh, that's the description. Close that. Don't need that. Do y'all know how to see the chat screen on the phone when you're in a live stream? Let's share. You would think there's a way. I'm wondering if it's the new computer that's giving me the problem. There it is, live chat. Ha ha! Ha ha ha! I think I fixed it. Oh dear God, I've missed a lot. I apologize, guys. Okay, so heads up, I do not know what's wrong with the live chat here. It seems to have frozen for some reason. And I do not know why. That is really going to bother me, but that's okay. Okay, so it would be possible, and we do cover this similar in one of Dragon Magic 102 with Dragon Alchemy. That does cover a little bit of it. You actually want to do this a bit more active, less passively. And you'd want to, I prefer to do it with meditation and energy work, especially within the Dragon's Flame ritual. That way I'm in control of the energy itself, and I can focus on not only pulling that energy out, but shaping it into what I want it to be as I push it back into me. So I hope that answers that question. I know I have apparently, I'm hoping that this is even still working. My little assistant here came down to show me after I got this. All right, that's good to go. All right, let's see here. This is a lot different. This is going to be a little weird to try and, let me try and catch up on some of this here. I do appreciate y'all being so nice to Halloween when she took over for me last week. Empathetically grounding into a candle would be a great way to do it, because you could charge that candle with any emotional energy with the intent of it actually helping you out and making you happier. That would actually be a fair way to go about it. But you want to be careful with the spell that I gave. Like I said, that one would create a bad feedback. You'd have to actually use a different style spell for it. Everyone's having a wonderful day, and happy Easter to everyone who celebrates Easter. I know we've had kids searching for eggs and candy today. It's been pretty fun. Mugs up, abnormal. Good to see you. Seffi, Jade, Angela, GK, Robot, yes. Oh man, when you get behind, don't you? Luna, good to see you as well. I feel like I don't like this, people. I'm not able to see the chat and actually get it to work. Let's see. Yeah, it's froze up on me for some reason on there really bad. That's a pain in the ass. All right. I ain't got a place to set this either. So apologize if I'm looking down, because this has really got my goat here. Mugs up, AT. Good to see you. And yes, if you are in here, do please hit that like button. It lets YouTube know you like the work we're doing, even when we're experiencing technical difficulties. So appreciate that. Yeah, I found the live chat under video. Found that. Can you refresh the stream? I might be able to, but I'm honestly afraid if I refresh the stream here, it might actually cancel the stream. That's kind of the problem there, which we have had to do that, and then I've had to launch a secondary stream before. So that's kind of an issue. But I do have it on here now, and we're slightly caught up. So maybe this will get us through a little bit tonight. Because everything's working but the live chat. How crazy is that, right? Okay, but that's okay. We got it here. Jedi Master, grab some books. I'm so backlogged on books, Jedi. It is crazy right now. Maria, have I worked with Baphomet? If so, what is your experience with them? I also love your videos. Thank you. I have worked a little bit with Baphomet. Now, here's the thing with Baphomet. And one of the reasons I've avoided doing a video on Baphomet, when you go in and you start researching Baphomet, and where he starts popping up in literature and lore, and then you get to the modern lore, Baphomet goes through a massive transition. And what we currently call Baphomet, what we currently use as an image of Baphomet, is entirely modern. And I do mean very modern. We don't even really see the name pop up until ballparkish Knights Templar. And it's actually believed to be a translation of a different entity entirely that was misrepresented. So the Baphomet that we know of in modern times is actually largely by many magicians viewed as an egregore or a thought form, not an actual true entity. And I find it a truly fascinating area of discussion and research, and that. But I know so many people have built a religious practice and a theology around this symbol or this entity, and the amount of people who just want to go read and start screaming when you want to look at the historical evolution of this entity um, is annoying, to say the least. Now, for me, you all know me, I love to do the research. I like to know the origins. I love to know the history. And those things matter to me. So if I was to sit down and do a video on Baphomet, which I'm planning on doing at some point, I'm going to be talking about that history. Now, just because that history points to it being an egregore or an entity that isn't the entity we think it is, does that change like the religious practices that have anything to do with that? Yes and no to some extent, because many of them say uh, some of them have ethics that are deplorable. Some of them have ethics that are honestly quite honorable, quite excellent, really. Um, but I think you can find just about anything out there where the representation that the people utilize for it is can be good or bad depending on the intelligence of the people, which is a sad thing. But it is one of those things where it is an entity that is very, very modernly misrepresented horribly. In fact, the artwork even comes much later after the Templar. The artwork was for something entirely different. So it's actually a really fascinating study, and I am wanting to do a video on it. But I have worked with them, and honestly, I'm kind of in the boat of it's an egregore. It does not feel like a full true entity to me. It really does not. And I've worked with it a lot over the years in attempts to try and find out more. Um, but it is one of those things where if I do the video, we're going to talk about the history and the evolution of it, where it came from. The iteration we currently know largely came from Antonio LaVey when he set up his stuff. And he used it as a representation, not a literal. Remember, you got to remember that. He used it as a representation, not a literal. Jelly Lynn, yes, you made it in time. Lilith, I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. Let's see here. And why the hell did I just sound like Bubba J? Lord help me, people. It's been a long week. So, hey, nice seeing you here, bro. But it is an entity just because, like, I do want to clarify this. Just because the history of it and everything points to it probably being more likely to be an egregore, I wouldn't discourage you from reaching out and working with this entity, because a lot of people work with the entity or egregore or whatever the flip, even if it's just thought form level, and they get a lot of great results. So, I would definitely check it out. The book ideal was for propping up your phone. Oh, actually, you know what? I got a stack of journals here right now. See, stack of journals. My office looks like the quintessential wizard's study. I have stuff piled up everywhere. The only stuff there's room for is me, what I'm currently writing or working on, and of course, let us not forget the ever important coffee pot. Yes, sir. Gotta have a coffee pot. Other than that, I got stuff piled upside when I need stuff to stack up like this. Because, hey, by the way, the book ideal totally worked. I can now, it gives me a much better precept here. My eyes have a little bit of trouble adjusting back and forth because filming light here, boom. Down here, not so much. So, that light switching. Got to deal with that a little bit there, but that's okay. We will manage. We will persevere because that's what we are. We're stubborn here. Angela, testing chat. 1, 2, 3. Maybe it's working now. What's your favorite way to use the rune sets? I'm a traditionalist when it comes to runes, Angela. I really am. I do not like runic oracle decks. I'm not a fan of them. Just because there's a certain aspect of rune casting that an oracle deck just can't translate well. They really cannot. So I love to use my rune sets for divinations, obviously, but I love to use them in some spell working and meditations as well when I can. But yeah, most of my rune sets are primarily used for rune casting, and I usually do a full casting. I will occasionally do quick little draws of runes, but I do prefer to do full castings over just a draw when I can. It's for this reason. I don't like crystal or stone runes. Crystal. Full stone runes I'll do. And the reason being, I can't count the number of sets of runes I've had when I've done a full casting, even on like a cloth or a padded surface. When they bang together, they cracked. I hate that. So yeah, I'll never buy another like quartz or amethyst or obsidian set of runes again. The current set I use is a ash wood set. I have that. And then I've been using them here lately. I got this set here that was gifted to me in the box even from our very own Jade, that has the Volt Knot on the back and then the rune inscribed here. Now, what I love about these is there's actually an impression there. You can feel that. She's done a great job with the inscribing. It's got some depth to it. And I have fallen in love with these. They're very simple, very natural wood look, which I like. I'm about that. They're great for casting. They're durable, but especially for meditations. One of the things I do is I like to rub my thumb over the rune when I'm meditating, and I want to feel those lines, and I want to see the rune in my mind's eye while I feel it with my eyes closed. And that impression just makes the meditation so much more effective and easy. I absolutely adore this set of runes. I think she offers a set with the Melniorn or Thor's hammer on it. In fact, many of you may even notice that the Volt Knot seal is actually the one I usually have behind me. So I'm considering seeing if she'll sell me some of the Thor's hammer ones. But I absolutely do adore those. My favorite use is honestly in divinations. Outside that, when I'm doing spell work, I tend to carve them in the moment. I tend not to use my rune sets for spell work as much. So I mainly use them for divinations and meditation, because so many weird things can happen in spell work. I don't tend to want to risk them. Hope that helps a little bit. Let's see what we got here. The walking wizard or knowledge. I try, brother. Kevin, hello everyone. Just joined the group. Really like the videos. I've been watching Black Flame 13. I'm not really sure what Black Flame 13 is. It sounds familiar though. I use runes in casting and put them on items like wood. Stuff. Yeah, see, I use them in a lot of my spell work and stuff like that, and I will use them in crafting as well. If any of you have seen, like in Dragon Magic 101, I show my staff. I actually have the runes carved into it. I actually even have them carved into me. Many of you don't have the full set here. So there are a lot of things. I mean, when it comes to spell work, I carve them. It's just the way she said sets. I was thinking she meant specifically how I'd use my set of runes as opposed to just the runes in general. If I misunderstood the question, though, I do apologize. Um, I have read The Night Side of Runes. It was years ago. Um, and it's weird because it didn't stick with me, so I'd have to go back and reread it. Which I That's weird because usually when I read a book, I have an opinion. I find it useless, good, or bad. And that impression usually sticks with me really hardly. And I remember the title. I remember reading the book, but I can't remember any impression of the book, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. So now that you said that, especially with me working on the Norse Path working, I'm going to have to go back and reread that. Um, so I know it's been like 5 or 6 years, but then again, there's books I read like 12 years ago that put an impression on me, and I still like, rawr. Um, so, but again, one thing I will say when we are discussing rune books or anything dealing with Norse mythology and the like, or spirituality, we are dealing with a reconstructed system, okay? A reconstructed system. I prefer to reconstruct and build around as much authenticity as I can. So I really, really follow the edits very, very close, or as close as I can. Other people do not. And the simple fact is, if we really get into it, we do not know how Norse magic was traditionally done. There's nothing in the edits, there's no documents to show it. And everything that we have documented actually comes far after the Norse and Viking eras and is actually a different cultural system. For example, the most of the runic staves that people say, like the Helm of Awe and the Viking compass, most of these are much later after the Viking Age. They're not actually necessarily Norse symbols. Um, which there's a channel, Arthi Hermbert, I can never say his last name. I'll try and get the name and post it in the video below after. But he does a wonderful job of breaking this stuff down, as does Jackson Crawford. Now, does that make it a problem? No, no, no. The thing is, when you're sitting down with something like this, where you literally have to get in there, you have to connect with these entities, you have to talk with them, you have to meditate on them. You really do have to largely reach a good chunk of your own conclusions. Part of what I'm doing with the Norse Pathworking that I'm wanting to produce, well, as far behind as we are this year already, I'm going to guess that's next year, or it'll be late this year before I get it done because I still haven't got the evocation class done. Is I'm going to give a outline, a framework for you to start in, but the entire point is to teach you how to specifically connect not only with the entities but with the runes themselves and go deeper and deeper and deeper, or as deep as you wish to go, and find your path and your practice within that Norse structure that is uniquely yours. So that's one of the things I'm wanting to do, and I'm wanting to give plenty of examples and rituals and the like to do that. But yeah, that is a book I'm going to have to go back and reread now because it has been a while, and it is so weird. Because you can ask my wife; I'm a very opinionated guy, and it is rare that something's like, "Yep, I remember it, but I don't remember my opinion." That's weird. So yes, everyone, congratulate Jade on those. She did do a great job. She actually, I think she has a website still where she actually sells these. She also does for those in Dragon Magic 102, the specialty dragon sigils. She actually has a wooden plaque set for those sigils too, for people who are interested in them. So, yeah, check her out. Jade, if you want, I will allow you to go ahead and drop your website in here because I do not remember it, and your work is amazing. So if you want, we won't flag you, tag you, or kick your butt if you want to drop that website in there. Share. Or you can pop over to the Gilded, which we have. We have a Gilded community. You can pop in there and ask her for it too. Also, that's also an option. An admin, if you want to drop the Gilded link, you can also do that. Let's see, Marie, have you worked with Hecate before? If so, what is your experience with Hecate. I have worked with Hecate. I have gone to Hecate's Sickle Festival a few times when I was on the West Coast. Absolutely had a fantastic and wonderful time. Um, Hecate is a harsh one to work with, not in a bad way. She's very detail oriented, and she doesn't take an excuse of any kind, which I absolutely find hilarious because every time I've gone to one of these sickle festivals, you've got a lot of people who pop up and they want to paint her as this kind, compassionate, understanding, totally going to cut you all the slack. And they welcome Hecate into their lives, and then they wonder why Hecate starts beating them over the head with a ball bat to motivate them to get off their rear and get to work. And they usually don't like it. And Hecate, she is about owning both your success and your faults. Um, but I absolutely adore Hecate. Anytime I've ever worked with Hecate throughout my career, I've loved working with her. Um, I was a little wary about going to a festival because, well, I'll be honest with you, the people on the West Coast that I knew that invited me to the festival, I really didn't have a high opinion of those individuals. But someone I did have a good opinion of from the West Coast, or not the West Coast, the East Coast, was actually going to fly all the way out there to go to this little shindig, and I hadn't seen them in so long, so I figured I'd go to the shindig. And I'm really glad I took that chance because it was freaking amazing. I'm really glad I didn't miss it. And yeah, Hecate's a lot of fun if you can, if you want to work with her. Just be ready. So when you work with Hecate, if you have an excuse, if you want to say, well, it's not my fault because, shut up right there. Just stop. Instead, your question would be, this is what happened. How can I correct it? Because regardless of what happened, the question is, how do you move forward? How do you correct it? Don't hand an excuse to her because she will pretty much smack you in the head with it. But I do adore her. Let's see here. Gilded link. Oh, Jay dropped the gilded link in there. That's good. Yes, Max. I'm glad. I'm glad. Honestly, it's a lot of people I know who do seem to think they're like, yeah, yeah. I know a lot of people decided to work with Hecate and a few other of the dark goddesses, thinking they could turn a dark goddess into a fluffy bunny goddess. And they got a very rude awakening about that. But the ones who stuck with it actually did drastically see a great deal of improvements in their life, which is one of those things. You can either go with the flow and you can learn the lessons and you can do the work, or not. Magic is work. See, there's one thing I've always told people, especially people who want to come to me and take classes, because they're like, life is getting hard. I'm going to make it easier. Don't study magic. Don't do it. Don't study magic. The more tools and the more ability you have, the more the multiverse knows I can throw more at that person. I can hit them with more. They have more capability, and they will do it. If you can dodge 5 rocks, it will throw 10 rocks. If you can dodge 10 rocks, it's now going to throw 20 rocks. So, ironically, the more and more we progress along our magical path, the more and more the multiverse throws at us. Now, as long as the mage or the magician or whatever you want to call yourself is willing to do the work and willing to keep things in balance and constantly working to improve themselves as well as maintain that balance, at least to people from the outside, it looks like we're just cruising along, coasting, and we're doing good, and everything's just happening right as rain for us. Anyone who's in the know knows that ain't the case. We are doing a lot of work. We're putting a lot of effort in, a lot of time. And if we were to just stop, everything would go to shit. Um, because the universe, the multiverse, isn't going to slowly just be like, all right, time out. No, there is no time out in the multiverse. You got to keep that work going. But this is also how you grow. This is also how you learn. And this is essentially how ascent would end up happening because you continue to grow to the point of ascent. That's why a lot of people try to push to ascent quicker rather than later. But yeah, that is one of those things. Let's see, Angela, have you ever had any experiences with Frigga that you'd be able to share? Actually, I have. And my experiences with Frigga were really, really weird. Um, because it was like I'm talking to an entity. I know this entity, but this entity is unfamiliar to me, and I'm working with her, and there was something I couldn't quite place my finger on. And the entity is an entity of the hearth, it is an entity of the home, but there was something behind it all, something that was almost hidden. Um, and then I saw a gleam in her eye that I knew that look. I knew that eye. I knew the eyes. The eyes spoke so deeply. This was not the eyes of someone who just sits around the house, does divinations, and is the goddess of the hearth. No, these were the eyes of someone who has seen battle. They've seen war. These were Freya's eyes. And that really scrambled my noodle for a while because essentially every time I worked with Frigga, I'm seeing Freya. I'm just seeing a different version of Freya. I'm seeing essentially the Freya at home. Um, and I've got notes and notes and notes on this for so long, how much this was messing with me. Um, and I did eventually end up asking Freya if her and Frigga were the same. And I got a direct answer, yes. Um, and I must have asked that question 3 times. Every time I got the same direct answer. And I was so absolutely petrified to talk about this for the longest time because these are two pretty well known goddesses within the Norse pantheon. But then again, I start seeing Norse scholars, actually, deep, really well known Norse scholars, who are talking about them and actually point out that they actually very likely are the exact same deity because in the Eddas, we don't hear a lot about Frigg. Frigg does not pop up that much, and Freya has so many different names, and Frigg really doesn't show up until a bit later when Freya, who was known as the Norse goddess, she was the top dog. In many cases, she was even worshipped more than Odin. Um, Disappears and her worship drops, and suddenly this other one pops up. And it happens at the same time that we start seeing the religious shift and the cultural shift, aka the Christianization of the time, as more Christianity is coming through, and the ideals of that are coming through. So we're seeing fewer and fewer of the warrior lady concepts, but Freya is still holding up that strength and that power and that ability of a sorceress. Um, and you can find videos. Jackson Crawford, I know, talks about it, as does Arthie Thorberg, I think might be his name. Again, I'm going to have to post this guy's name. Really great individual because he does separate the historical lore from the religious lore quite well. He does a really good job there. Um, so, yeah, I have worked with him. And in my experience, her and Freya are the same. And I'm actually glad to see there's actually historical references and reasons and lore to back up what I thought was me being cuckoo, as well as other magicians who have had the exact same experiences. So, yeah, I'm really, really glad about that. Let's see. See, where are we? We got a lot of things popping up here, and this is not as easy to keep up with. So I apologize if I miss your question tonight because this is definitely not as easy to pop up. And it does not appear it's like flashing the super chats for me either, which is rude. So if anyone has given me a super chat outside the first one we got, I apologize if I miss it. Hopefully, I'm gonna figure out something and see if we can get this up and running next week with no issues. In fact, when I sign off tonight, I'm going to hit the refresh button since we're already going to be signing off and see if we can fix this with a refresh without restarting the stream. Okay. So we're going to see that. We're going to do this a little end of stream experimento. You know what I mean? But that way we don't mess anything up midstream because that just gets some pain in the butt. Let's see. I love it when she uses that analogy. Let's see. I sort of steered away from magic and I'm working on self enlightenment and self empowerment, which is why I work mainly with Lucifer. Self enlightenment and empowerment's the same as magic. It really is. They're not actually as separate as some people would like to say. But yeah, I mean, and self enlightenment and self empowerment are absolutely great goals. I would definitely recommend those to anyone. Um, but I mean, technically, those are at the end of the day my big goal. Let's see. To the Have I come across Tiamat? Yes, I have. I've actually worked with Tiamat and her children quite a bit, both from a Mesopotamian magic view, from a draconian magic view, and from a dragon magic point of view. I've actually approached them from different angles, actually, which actually gave me a much larger understanding of Tiamat. Um, and pretty sure I actually have a video here on my work with Tiamat. You should go check that one out. I actually adore Tiamat. Maria, what would you say your biggest challenge in your practice is? Um, that's a tricky one. The biggest challenge in my practice for me, um, even to this day, is trusting the information I get. Okay. Um, just like I said with the friggin' Freya thing, I kept getting the same information over and over and over and over again. And even though all my data, all my research that I was doing, all my workings, all my divinations, everything pointed in that direction, I had a preconceived notion based on books that weren't necessarily historical that really made it hard for me to trust the information coming in because I had a preconceived notion. And in cases like that, it is really, 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 really freaking hard. Um, so that is definitely one of the big ones that is there. Um, I am getting better at it. I'm getting a lot better at it. My notes and my journals and everything, I'm also learning to actually make notations of things in a way that reminds me. You know, sometimes you actually have to let go of those. Hey, that one flashed up. Thank you. Thank you. Word. Appreciate it. Mugs up to you. I plan to keep up the work. Thank you. Appreciate it. That one flashed up. I don't know why. You're special. um, so, however, that said, one of the big things that was really an annoyance for me when I first started was books, 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 books. I would buy. I mean, me and my wife, we had an occult library that was freaking huge, okay? And practically every book we owned all said the same spiel. I mean, it was the same shtick over and over again. Usually just a slightly different framing. Sometimes even the sentences were identical. Um, and you're buying like a $20 or $30 book that may have one new thing in it, and that was really freaking annoying to me. But then I realized you really can't buy books that really go too far past 101. And there's no one talking about this. There was no one talking about how you do it. And one of the things when I got into Dragon Magic that I actually think did help me the best is there was no info. There was no info out there because I was forced to rely so solely on the dragons and ask questions. And, they started talking to me about the three arcane pillars, the foundation in which those pillars are on, the importance of the magician, the importance of an individual's path, the importance of results, the importance of being able to monitor your progression as an individual. But I quickly learned that if a magician was to take the time and truly understand those arcane pillars and the foundation in which they're built on, you're not going to need another book as long as you live. And this isn't unique to dragon magic. Those arcane pillars the dragons teach on, yes, they have a philosophy on them. Yes, they teach on them. But they literally apply to any other path out there. And that was really kind of one of the things that really unlocked my path. But then the next thing was, I grew up religious. I grew up in church. So it was really hard for me to embrace magic as a science because I am actually more scientifically minded. And it just felt weird to take something so many people view as spiritual or religious and approach it as a science. But when I finally let go of the spiritual or religion side, that also helped me. That's not to say spiritual and religion's bad or wrong. For me, see, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of good people who need the spiritual or need the religion for their path. And that's okay. We shouldn't give them no trouble for that. Everyone's path is unique, and it's finding that that sense of it that's right for you, that actually pushes you forward and gets that progression. That is so vitally important to the magician. Hope that answers that question a little bit. Let's see. Let's see. Well, that's not good. We got a lot of crosstalk happening here. Okay, Colin, Obama, can we keep the legal discussions out of the live chat, please? Let's see. By the way, Drake, your money now spell works. I didn't perform the physical spell, however, the intent I had netted me a little windfall this weekend. Grats. Actually, Arcanum, I actually do enjoy doing spell work in my sanctum to avoid material component costs because, oh dear God, I just sound like a role play game. But no, candles get expensive. Some items get expensive, so I actually do. Now, the trade-off is if you're trying to do a spell that affects the material plane, you're going to get quicker results, technically speaking, if you do it here on the material as opposed to the astral. However, your astral sanctum fucks right up against the freaking material. So there's a fair chance you're not going to notice too much of a time difference. As you said, you just netted a good windfall this weekend. But anytime we sit down to do a spell, there's always ways to fluctuate that. So since we're further away from the material plane, you can actually spend a little extra time in your spell work and everything to add more energy to it, which could make up for the distance differential. Pretty easy. It's like, just you turn it up the volume one place, you turn it down another place, fine tune it. Works really well. But yeah, I'm glad you enjoy it. I love that spell. It actually has come in really handy for me quite a few times. So, do you have any advice on people struggling to trust their intuition? Keep a journal. Hands down, your journal is your most important and most effective magical tool, period. Because if your intuition or your divinations or information you're getting is coming in and you're writing it down, this allows you to track it, and it allows you to track the percentages of correct, incorrect, those kinds of things. And the ability to be able to track it and put it in a physical thing that you can look at automatically helps you overcome that doubt and starts to allow you to trust it more and more. And as you start to trust it more and more, you also start to pay attention to the different ways that the information comes in when your intuition is acting and the way that intuition feels. And you really start to fine tune it to the point you know when you should trust it, when you shouldn't. That journal is really key. If you ask me, hands down, what tool I would not give up in my magical practice, it would be my journal. I would always keep a journal in some way if I could, especially starting out as a beginner. But I mean, even now, as I get more advanced, my research is so big, there's no way I can remember it all. I have to write it down. But yeah, that journal, too many people don't keep a good journal. Let's see. Um, yeah, I do actually. So there's not a lot of good books on Norse magic specifically because we don't know a lot about it, and a lot of people's afraid to try and touch on it, which is one of the things I'm hoping to overcome with our Norse course is to get a little bit more, at least into a functional version of Norse magic. Because again, we're reconstructing here. Okay, we're building up. We don't know the exacts. No one does, so we have to build up. Okay, so I'm going to go with what has passed on to me through my path workings and stuff. Um, in detail. But in the meantime, one of the books I started out with that I really like is this, A Practical Heathen's Guide to Astral, um, by Patricia LaFollette. I can't say her name. This is more of a ritual book for Astral practice, but it does give rituals like the hammer rite and stuff, which this is, Astral is kind of where the hammer rite comes from. It gives some ideals on how they would celebrate different holidays and everything, ways they would do blessings and bloats. So it gives you a good framework. And it is designed as a framework. It's wrote very practically as a framework. Not specific on magic, unfortunately, but this is actually going to give you a good foundational framework. Now, the next one is actually Taking Up the Runes by Diana Paxton. Oop, there we go, Paxton. I love this book because it does have some meditations, it has some rituals, it has some spell work in there. But one of the reasons I love this, I know a lot of people don't like this book. A lot of people don't. They say it's too big, it's too wordy. Well, let me tell you why it's wordy. Every rune in this book has three different viewpoints from three different people who specialize in rune working, talking about the philosophy and experience with that rune. Do you know how much insight, information, and wisdom can come from three different viewpoints onto a single rune? This is freaking amazing. This is a really fantastic book if you get a hold of it. Um, Unfortunately, those are really some of the better ones. Um, I picked up a book someone recommended to me a couple weeks ago on seed magic, and I got to the third chapter, and they basically started quoting Marvel as Norse mythology. So I finished reading it, but it was more comical. It honestly, if that book pops up, I'm not even going to mention it here. It doesn't deserve it. But if that does pop up anywhere and anybody's asking me my opinion and they actually find it and see the title, don't ever buy that book. I wish I'd get my money back. It's that bad. Tiamat's not too big on being called Gaia. She's not Gaia. Gaia is a completely separate entity. Honestly and truly, the way I keep my wards and my energy balanced, the moon, stars, solar flares, that stuff, they don't really affect me. I maintain everything myself here. Um, do I believe in time travel? Not really. By and large, everything I've seen in the multiverse shows me that the past is the past. We can't go back, we can't change it, and that's actually a good thing. In fact, you would actually undo a lot of progress and growth for yourself if you tried, because that actually essentially shows you're doing the opposite of what the multiverse is essentially setting you up to do. As far as the going forward, again, there's too many unfixed points. The future isn't a fixed point. So even if, let's say, even if, and this is on the complete theoretical, you could jump up, um, the ability to hit the specific target you're shooting for is astronomically unlikely. So yeah, by and large, me personally, um, I can't say it's an impossibility, but I really do think it's probable, personally. Let's see here. Which I need to top this off. If we got a few minutes left. Been a crazy night. We had some technical issues, but we got through here, didn't we? Do you have any advice when it comes to astral projection? Are there any real dangers to traveling to other worlds? With astral projection, no, there's actually no danger at all. Astral projection is just that, it's a projection, an energetic projection. And even if it's absolutely obliterated, no harm will come to you. There is a lot of fear tactics around astral projection this day and age. I do not know why. I know countless magicians who have literally done stupid shit to test it with absolutely no side effects. The biggest side effect of astral projection that I have ever noticed from anyone doing some of the dumbest things possible is high energy. The same thing that you would get from a meditation or a ritual where you just need to ground and center and you're fine. That's literally it. And if you don't know how to ground or center, get you a cup of coffee or eat anything. And that will actually ground out the energy perfectly fine. So astral projection, no danger, none. We do have a video here on tips to get started in astral projection. Now, soul travel, which is not astral projection, they're not interchangeable. That can have a few dangers to it, but it's also considerably harder and cannot be done by accident in any shape, form, or fashion. So, yeah, with astral projection, no danger. All right, so let's see here. And actually, no, you really can't pick up a parasite either. I mean, and even if you did pick up a parasite, if you're doing regular grounding and cleansing rituals daily, which if you're doing astral projection, you should be. Um, and if you're not, odds are you ain't got the focus to really astral project to begin with, so no issues there. Any of the parasites would be easily done away with. You could even do just a simple water grounding in the shower to get rid of the parasites. People, again, want to use these parasites as a fear tactic. It's actually a little bit disgusting. And all I can figure is people's trying to scare people in order to keep them from practicing or to try and sell them something. Or gatekeeping, which y'all know by now, gatekeeping pisses me off. Violet, hey, glad you can make it. You're doing a light worker webinar. Well, hey, I'm glad you can make it at least to say hello. It's always good to see you. Let's see. Tiamat was once Earth from the Mesopotamian view. You have to understand, Tiamat is not the only creator entity out there. There are many entities out there, and none of them actually have a true monopoly on creation. The only time you get the monopoly is if you're a member of the religion. That's the only entity which you are going to worship. Tiamat actually doesn't play that large of a scope in the multiverse, unfortunately. But within the Mesopotamian religion, yes, Tiamat was viewed as Earth within that religion and within the mythology thereof. So let's see. Okay, we're going to have to get ready to wrap up here. Let's see what we're going to do. Glad I can help. Glad I can help. Let's see. Okay. All right, everyone. Hope you have a fantastic week. I know I got a lot of work. I am finally getting my schedule balanced down a little bit and catching up on some things that we got behind on. Having last weekend to catch up on a few things really, really helped out. Halloween, thank you very, very much for running the live stream. I personally think you did great. I did actually have it over here so I could watch it while I was working, which was a lot of fun to do. And I really have to, appreciate you all being so wonderful to my daughter and treating her well. And also, thank you for not being upset I didn't show up. I do apologize for that, but you guys have always been great and understanding when I have to get something done. That means a lot to me. All right. So I am going to let you all go. You'll have a fantastic week. Keep up the good work. Keep those journals. Again, those journals are important. Keep working to be the best you can be. And I'll see y'all next week. What do you say? But before I see you next week, we're going to go ahead and do the sign off, and then we're going to hit the refresh, and we'll see if anybody's around here that can still hear me or if it just stops the stream. How about that? All right. So until next time, I'm Drake. This has been Working Dragon Mystic. Take care. Refreshing.